she might be the female fighter of the year. Only 2 fights in 2020, and they were kind of far apart. She fought in February against Caitlin Chukagian, had the knee surgery, and then she comes back and fights Jennifer Maia. The odds were just astronomically in her favor. Maia was a historically large underdog, and so things are going pretty well. Here's Valentina, her sister Antonina, by the way, her older sister, whose birthday it was on Friday. She wins earlier in the evening, so things are going well for the Shevchenkos. By the way, the only 2 sisters to ever fight on a UFC card, so that was big in its own right. She wins the first round, she loses the second round, and then all of a sudden people are starting to perk up, but then she wins 3, 4, and 5. And so let me ask you this. She wins via unanimous decision, and in the end, it's fairly elementary. By the time the fight is over, it was fairly one-sided. Were we so hung up on the fact that she lost the first round because second round, because she's so dominant? Like, it reminded me a little bit of GSP back in the day. He loses one round, everyone starts losing their mind. And in the end, we're giving Maia like too much credit and Valentina not enough credit, because it was a bizarre thing. Even some people, let's be honest, some people said that you guys were a little too hung up on it in the broadcast booth. I didn't agree with that notion. And I was at home being like, holy smokes, 1-1 going into the third. This is a little weird. But in the end, it was 4-1 and it was fairly one-sided.
Well, I said that, right? I said that on the fight. I go, we're talking as if this is a difficult fight, and she's winning 3 out of the 4 rounds, right?
Yeah.
It speaks to her dominance. And I just believe exactly what you're saying. And, you know, people sit at home and they want to judge. But the reality is we're watching these fights and we're trying to call them as we're seeing them, because we're watching them just like you're watching them. And watching a champion like Valentina, who's since going to 125 has never shown any weakness, especially on the ground. When was the last time we saw Valentina Shevchenko held down like that for 4 minutes? We've never.
At 125 going into that fight, the cumulative time that she's been on her back on the ground, you know how much it was at 125? 2 seconds.
2 seconds. See, so you see her get control for 4 minutes. You're like, oh my goodness, what's happening?
Yeah.
And well, what happens is, I'm trying to tell you the story of the fight. I'm trying to tell you that if Jennifer Maia is to be successful, now there's a path. Now there's a path, right? When you're watching it and she holds it out for 4 minutes, even though the takedown was off of Valentina failing on a takedown attempt, you think now there's a path for Jennifer Maia to win this fight. And I have to tell you about that path. But the reality is, you saw very clearly it wasn't happening again. After the third round, you go, okay, now things are starting to kind of go back to normal. And Valentina's just so dominant, man. And she's beating people up so bad. The first gal she fought at 125, it was awful watching. She just completely just tortured her.
Yeah.
Helwani and Jacek, it was a closer fight, but it wasn't all that close, right? She won 3 or 4 out of the 5 rounds.
So the Joanna fight is the only round at 125 that she lost. She lost one round.
Yeah, she won 4 out of 5 rounds, right? Then from then on, it was just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Jessica kick in the head. Caitlin Chukagian, crucifix, finish. So it was like you start to see it as it's normal for her to just dominate. Even at 135. At 135, Ariel, who took Valentina down and held her down, and she's undersized up there. With Amanda Nunes, these were stand-up fights. And we know that Amanda possesses the ability to take her down and hold her. So to see Maia do that was very surprising. But Valentina Shevchenko dominated that fight. She really did.
So let me ask you this. If you're Andrade, who I think is next, Jessica Andrade, Dana White said the same. By the way, I wonder if they call upon Andrade to fight on December 12th as well against Valentina. As of right this moment, they haven't.
Because Valentina says she wants to fight again.
Right. So I wonder if they try to just do the same card again, but with 2, I think, closer title fights than the one that we saw on Saturday, at least on paper. If you're Andrade, you watch that. Are you a lot more confident? Do you see some holes? Do you see a path, or is it a completely different fight?
Well, here's the thing, right? If you're Jessica Andrade, you have better ability to take the fight to the floor. We've seen Jessica pick people up and just throw them down.
Right.
Right. So if you see that Jennifer Maia was able to get on top and hold it there, you start thinking to yourself, I got to wade through the water a little bit, get close, and just take her down. Because, bro, when Jessica Andrade gets to a leg, she just picks people up. We saw what she did to Rose to finish the fight. We saw how she just threw Caitlin Chukagian down like Caitlin just was 105 pounds. She just slams you. So, yeah, it gives you a little bit of confidence, right? It gives you the idea that you can go and implement that game plan. But there's never going to be a clear path to beating Valentina Shevchenko. She can wrestle, man. She can defend herself. And you saw with her and her sister, they're both working on getting better in the areas where we as fans and people that are calling the fights view they're not, I don't want to say weaknesses, but view the easiest way to try and beat them, and that's by taking them down. They're getting better there.